Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We will listen to Judge Judy. We're just going to spice it up.
For charges filed by Gerald.
Miss Brady, this young lady is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your husband.
Yes, sir.
According to your complaint, some time ago, your daughter and her husband had a small baby. That baby was removed from their custody by the state because of abuse, and the baby was placed in your custody.
Yes, ma'am.
You had her for approximately a year.
20 months, Your Honor.
And after 20 months, there was a reunification process, and she was ultimately returned to her parents.
Yes, Your Honor.
You now have that child and another child.
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint is that there came a point where your daughter and son-in-law made some false allegations about you, which required you, because you have a teaching position, to retain an attorney in order to dispute those allegations. And you want them to pay for that attorney and for the emotional distress that you went through from something. Your daughter and her husband say that there came a point when they were concerned over something that their daughter had told them when you were visiting with her, and they had every right to report that. And they are counterclaiming because they say that you have embarked upon a course of trying to interfere with the reunification process by making allegations against the Child Protective Services. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the child originally removed from your custody?
January 13th of 2005.
How old was she?
She was approximately 3 months old.
And what was the nature of the abuse that she suffered at 3 months old?
Some people that we thought were friends, and their youngest daughter was going to put bite marks on our child.
Over what period of time?
A week or two.
You pled guilty to abuse or neglect?
Neglect.
And you understand that you neglected her,
Yes.
as did you.
I wasn't there. I was at work. I was working out of town for the period that this had happened.
The entire time?
It had happened within a week. I was out of town for the whole week.
Now, when the child was with you, did parents visit
Yes, ma'am.
at your house?
Initially, they had supervised visitation at my house, and due to the deteriorating situation, I asked for their visitation to be moved to a visitor center.
Well, that's part of their counterclaim, that if you hadn't forced the visitation to be at a visitation center, they might have been reunified with their child earlier. So I'd like you to tell me, Miss Brady, what caused you to report this deteriorating situation?
They were coming over to my house, and I was allowing them wide open visitation. They could come, sit comfortably. I fed them. I permitted them to have any length of visitation they wanted. That was approximately June of 2005. Cliff went into court and claimed that he was paying child support to me, and I had not received any child support from them whatsoever. Also, when they came, they were bringing some people over with them. I didn't mind his family members, immediate family members, like his sisters and Kaylee's little cousins, but they started bringing strangers over.
Who would you bring over to the house?
My cousin.
Why would you do that?
We checked with her first. We told her that we were going to bring over my niece and my cousin. And
Why would you bring anybody?
Because she would not come over down to Orlando so that my family could see my daughter, and my family wanted to see my daughter because they hadn't seen her since she was born.
Just a minute. What does that have to do with your little cousins?
She was like 13 years old.
This is for you and your wife. Visitation is for you and your wife. How many cousins did you bring to the visitor center?
We didn't take anybody to the visitation center because it was done during the week whenever everybody was working.
So Miss Brady was taking care of business that you should have been taking care of.
Stop fucking with it. No.
That was supposed to be a mind reader?
Well, I did object to one person's presence. He was supposedly a friend of Brandy's, his older sister. And I did object to it about and excuse.
Is that correct? Okay. So you got tired of all these people in your house?
Yeah.
So you asked that the visitation be at someplace else?
Yes.
Were you going to visitation every weekend with your daughter?
At the center, it wasn't on the weekend. It was on the
At
weekend.
your mother's house?
We were going there about 3-4 days a week.
So that was great. That was great.
Yes.
Should have kept it simple.
We didn't know that there was a problem until she sprung it on us at the last minute saying that there's visitation at the center now instead of at her house.
Should have
We
been
didn't
smart
know
enough to
if
figure it.
she would have came up to us and said, hey, I have a problem with some of the stuff that's going on, we would have done what we could to correct it.
Mr. Yeldington, you may be right. She probably should have said something to you before she moved it, but that's not a legitimate lawsuit. You should have been smart enough to keep it simple. Go with your wife, sit with your wife, with your 3-month-old daughter, bind with her, spend as much time with her as you can, and not involve the rest of your family. That's just not smart to do. Could she have told you? Absolutely. Is that a lawsuit? Absolutely not. Now, the child was ultimately reunified when?
September the 15th, 2006.
Tell me what happened after September the 15th.
Well, there was one visit that I went to pick her up at. Josh, my grandson, went to pick her up. I had visitation with her every other weekend. And I noticed there was like a mark on the side of her face. Well, when I got her home, it looked like a full-blown handprint on the left side of her face.
Josh, just stand up, please. Josh, you went to pick the baby up.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any mark on her face?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe it to me.
It was marks from on her face, and there was like some bruising right here.
Did you ask her what happened?
No, ma'am.
Did you?
She wasn't that verbal at that time.
Okay, fine. Do you remember what month?
September 2006, towards the end.
So you reported it?
Yes, I did, to the caseworker, and I took pictures.
You have pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
There's the originals.
Very hard to see any mark. Oh, I see the bruise in the middle of her lip. That I do see.
Yeah, that was on a separate occasion.
And then in October of 2006, I see a large black and blue mark on her forehead.
That's it.
Okay. You did the very wise thing and the right thing to notify the caseworker. You understand that, don't you?
Yes, I'm trying to recall on what these marks were.
Yeah, because we were never notified by the department that there was any marks on her.
Or by my
Well,
mother.
but you do understand that being a responsible person, knowing the history of this child.
Yes, ma'am. But what I'm saying is, if there was a allegation made to the department, I think the department would have, at least done an investigation on it. There was
The
no
department
investigation done.
should have done an investigation on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether they did or not is another story. No question about that. Okay, what happened next, Miss Brady?
In January of 2007, I had picked up Kaylee from their home, and when I was giving her a shower, I noticed what appeared to be like burn marks, like in a circle on her butt. And I did call DCF. DCF investigator did tell me, take her to the hospital, have her examined by the hospital.
And did you do that?
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you have a report from the hospital?
No.
Because you're not the parent.
Right, and I didn't have custody of her at that time.
Do you have a report from the hospital on this incident?
We do not have it. We gave the copy to our caseworker because we were notified of the allegation. And the moment I was notified, I took my daughter down to the hospital, had her examined, and then also told them to call up the sheriff's department and told them I want to do everything by the book because this allegation is ridiculous.
Did you get a report when Miss Brady took her to the hospital?
Not from the hospital, but I do have the report with the department.
I'd like to read it. You tried to toilet train your child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does your daughter have a psychiatric history?
No. After this point, I think she should.
Well, it is clear to me that based upon this, somebody observed marks and thighs that were clearly visible 2 days after your mother-in-law took the child to the hospital.
That right there would be the allegation that Miss Brady put against us
No,
for my daughter.
no, my dear.
Because our case was...
Kaylee has excoriated red marks on her buttocks and thigh. That's an observation, sir. That is not Miss Brady's observation. That's an observation either by a physician at the emergency room or the caseworker. It says, describes them. They're on her thighs. They're about 2 inches long. The marks on her lower buttocks look like they may have been from sitting on the toilet for a long period of time.
Which she was not. And the doctors that we took her to and the investigators and everybody told us that...
Don't tell me what anybody told you. Show me a report. This is the only report that I have.
As far as her sitting on the potty for too long, she liked to play on the potty and try to be a big girl, and she would sit there herself. We didn't force her to stay there. And the marks on her thigh were taken from her diaper because we went for a walk that morning before my mother picked her up.
You also had an excuse for the bite mark she suffered on her body and claimed that that was not your fault. It is your fault. Whether you did the biting or you permitted this child to be, for over a week's period of time, bitten by another child, that's your fault. And just because a 2-year-old wants to sit on the toilet for a long time doesn't mean that a parent who is exercising parental responsibility allows a child to do that to such an extent that the child has welts on her bottom. The child should not have marks on their thighs from chafing from a diaper. If all you have to do is take care of her, which is what the two of you have to do, take care of her. So far, Miss Brady, you did everything right.
Thank you.
Now, would you please tell me why you were forced to hire a lawyer?
Well, throughout this 20 months, they've made numerous allegations
Uncross your arms
against me, but then they made a very serious allegation against me July 26, 2006. And I think it was in retaliation because things didn't go very well for them in court.
What do you mean things didn't go?
I guess that day, they were expecting to be reunited with their child that day in court, and it didn't come about. And I also was badgering them about the child support that they owed me. And we had left court, I had gone, and then next thing I know, I'm getting a call from the caseworker to take Kaylee to a hospital or a doctor immediately for a sexual exam because the allegation had come from Cassier Clip.
That said what?
That said they felt that the child had been sexually abused while she was in my care.
Really?
And this really was...
What made you think that?
She would shy away from men. She would not go near them. It would, like if I would go to pick her up, and I mean, whenever I'd walk around, she would run right up to me. And if I'd go to pick her up, she would curl up in a ball and start crying. So what I did is I told my caseworker, this is what's happening. I don't know what to think about it. I just figured I should notify you about it. And where it went from there was that they put in the abuse allegation
Against who?
against her mother.
You're crazy. Something wrong with you. And you're a nasty person, too.
How am I a nasty person?
You're a nasty person. Because you retaliated against somebody and took on a responsibility that you and your wife couldn't take care of, which is taking care of a 3-month-old child. I assume that Miss Brady, when she raised her own children, didn't plan on nor desire to raise a 3-month-old baby. The reason she had to do that was in order to prevent your 3-month-old daughter from going into a foster care situation. Because the two of you neglected her, minimally neglected her, perhaps abused her. So she lived for 20 months. And instead of kissing her feet, which you should have done,
We tried.
you accused this teacher, this person who cleaned up after your mess, of abuse. That's why you're not a very nice person. Because I sense that you rule the roost in your house. That's my sense. My sense is also that your wife could use a little psychiatric intervention. And if you don't see to it that happens, you now have 2 children.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It's not going to be the last time that your children are the subject of intervention by the state. So if you rule the roost in your house, and if you're not the one who's abusing your children, I suggest that you get your wife some help. What should you spend on a lawyer?
$600.
That you pay her back. How much support did you ultimately give up for the time she took care of your daughter?
We came up to a verbal agreement that if she claimed Kaylee on the tax return, we would.
You didn't answer my question.
We
I
didn't
said
give
how
her
much?
any money because we had a verbal contract that if she claimed her on her tax return, we wouldn't have to pay child support anymore.
The child support wasn't ordered until 2006.
It doesn't have to be ordered. Does it have to be ordered for you to watch your child so that she doesn't get bitten?
We were giving my daughter diapers, clothes, anything that she needed.
Who cares if you give somebody diapers?
Okay. And then she comes out.
Who cares if you give a baby diapers?
I understand that, ma'am, but then she comes out and tells the courts that she thinks that me saying I'm not going to pay for her bills, not my daughter's, hers, is unfounded because she actually came out and said she wanted this much for this much for this, and this much for this, and one of those being cable, and my 3-month-old daughter wasn't watching cable.
Mr. Yelvington, so instead of doing something, you did nothing. Exclude the cable. You didn't even protect your 3-month-old daughter.
Yes, we did.
No, you didn't, because your wife had to, of necessity, fed, bathed, and changed this baby over a week's period of time. And as soon as she saw the first bite mark on this child, that child should have been removed from the environment. She chose not to do that. And if you were in communication with your wife, and if there's not something wrong with her mentally, she would have told you that the 3-month-old child had been abused by somebody in that house. And if you were any sort of a parent, you would have come off the road and said, I don't care where we're going, we'll go to a shelter in order to protect her. Instead, you allowed this child to be abused over a week's period of time, according to your wife. And instead of kissing her feet, you made her life miserable. That's your mother. 25 years from now, you're not going to know who he is, but she will always be your mother. And you will always be able to count on her to clean up after you, not him. And if you need mental help, get it. Yeah. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, but there's one thing. I was not able to notify my husband of the marks because the people that we were staying with would not allow me to use the phone. And I had to
crawl out. Abe Lincoln walked 10 miles to school. If your child is being abused, you leave and go to a shelter. What's wrong with you?
Where we lived, there was no shelters nearby.
Go to a police station. Where did you live? In the Yukon? Where? You go to a shelter. You go to a police station. You go someplace where you don't let your daughter out of your sight.
That's right.
Don't say anything.
Okay.
You're both working now?
Yes.
Perfect. Your counterclaim for nonsense is dismissed. You're asking for $1,600, which includes infliction of emotional distress, which you've had, and your attorney's fees. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all. Thank you.
Claudia Blanco says ex-boyfriend Rene Trujillo posed for illegally repossessing her car. Rene is countersuing, claiming Claudia's negligence ruined his credit.
Miss Blanco, Mr. Trujillo was your boyfriend.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that he co-signed for a car for you.
Yes.
The car was titled in his name
and mine,
but he was on the loan.
Yes.
You couldn't get credit.
Both of us were on the loan.
But you couldn't get credit yourself. You broke up. And the agreement, when he agreed to co-sign for you, from what I understand, was as follows. He would co-sign for you. You would make regular payments on the car, timely. That you would maintain insurance on the car. That you would pay for his cell phone, maintain his cell phone. Anything else, sir?
Medical insurance.
And keep him on your medical insurance, pay for his medical insurance.
Yes.
That was in exchange for him obligating himself on the car loan. You broke up. According to Mr. Trujillo, you were late in many of your car payments, which damaged his credit. In addition, although he doesn't say it, you did. You canceled his cell phone and canceled his medical insurance.
In January of 2007, yes. This year.
You canceled his medical insurance. There's no time limit on this contract.
It wasn't really an agreement that I was going to pay his cell phone insurance. It was more of a blackmail, and I have emails to prove that.
What do you mean? Just a second. I'll see you in a second. But it's my understanding, even from you, in your complaint, that we came to an agreement. This is what you swore to, that he would co-sign my car for me, and I would pay for his cell phone plan along with adding it to my medical insurance. That's what you said.
Okay.
You canceled the cell phone.
All right.
You canceled your medical insurance. You fell behind in your car payments, and you repossessed the car and turned it back in. Is that what you did with it, or are you driving it?
I currently have the car.
You currently have the car, and you've made up car payments.
Right, I might have to date.
You want all the money that you put into the car.
Not necessarily all the money, the down payment that I put into, and the payments, some of the payments that I did, and for insurance and the cell phone bill that I did remove them from it, but it wasn't really an agreement. And I have emails that show that it was more of, if I take them off, that the car deal would be done and deal with.
Well, that's true. You know, I don't understand this, Blanco. If you made that agreement with him when he co-signed for the car for you, which is what you say in your complaint, and you subsequently break up. So you get the dates. When did you break up?
In September of 06.
And when was the car purchased?
July 22nd of 06.
And when did you take him off the cell phone?
The cell phone, I took him off in this February of 07.
And when did you cut him off of your health insurance?
They didn't cancel that until August 31st of this year, after he took the vehicle and everything.
When did you cancel him from the health insurance? Not when they took him off. When did you cancel
him? When I told him June of this year.
June
of 07.
And he repossessed the car?
June 10th.
Which he lied about repoing the car. He did not tell me anything.
He doesn't have to tell you anything. How many times were you late on car payments?
4 times. But I have proof from VW that I called them, everything, you stayed in touch.
I don't care whether you stayed in touch. What does that mean, Ms. Blanco, that you stayed in touch?
Because they cut my hours from work. It was very unexpected. On March 10th, we had a meeting and they told us, hey, we're cutting hours by Monday. I went from working 40 plus hours to 32 hours. There was no way I could come up with the money. I was trying my hardest to get a second job, and Renee knew about this. He knew that I was trying to get a second job. I kept in touch with him. I only paid $110 this time.
Ms. Blanco, you have to be a grown-up, sweetheart. Listen to me. You can't visit your problems on him. The fact that you were working with Volkswagen and they don't want your old car back, they want to work with you as long as they're going to get their money, right? That's one thing. That doesn't mean it's not reported to his credit as the co-signer. The fact that you lost hours impacted on him. You understand that?
I understand
That's his
that.
complaint because he has a counterclaim. He says you ruined his credit because for 4 times, and I don't care if it was 4 times or 3 times or 2 times, if you don't make your car payment on time, the people who were responsible on that loan are going to be penalized. That was him. He has an absolute right to repossess the car for that alone. In addition to the fact that you had a contract with him, a verbal contract, he would obligate himself on the car, but he would maintain him on his cell phone and your insurance. Well, after a while, you're not his girlfriend anymore. You say, I'm going to cancel that cell phone. I don't want to pay for a cell phone, but he's calling other people, and I don't want to pay for his health insurance anymore. I'm canceling it.
It wasn't out of a malicious act to
doesn't have to be
remove him.
It doesn't have to be malicious. That was your contract with him.
It wasn't a contract.
Yes, it was. That's what you said. You said it was an agreement. We came to an agreement that he would co-sign my car for me, and I would pay for his cell phone along with adding him to my health insurance. You want me to see what you signed?
I know. I circled that agreement part. It wasn't.
That's what you signed.
I know.
That's what you swore to.
It wasn't.
That's what you said happened. That's what he says happened. You may not want to revisit that now.
Your Honor, there's an email here that shows the only reason I kept that one going was because
she doesn't understand that the email is going to support exactly what I said. Yeah, he says to you, you keep me on your insurance and your cell phone plan, and we'll keep the same car deal. That's what it says.
But it wasn't the car deal. The reason why it says car deal is because when we first signed up for the car, we signed up on July 22nd. A couple days after that, the guy that we did the car loan with called us in and said, hey, we have a better interest rate for you. If you come in, we could redo the contract. So I got sick a couple days after that. So we couldn't go right away. I had surgery, everything was fine. We went back and redid the contract. But before we redid the contract, we got into an argument and I said, you know what? We have to take this out of my name or out of your name, put it into my own name. Now that, this is not how it's supposed to be. And in that email it says,
Miss Blanco, was the car in both your names?
Yes.
Was the loan in both your names?
Yes.
Do you have proof, sir, that your credit score went from one thing to another?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. This is the before and the after with the credit scores highlighted.
I have the proof of, or not proof, but when we first co-signed the car, they did a credit check on us, and I have the credit score that they gave us on his and
not us, him.
mine, both of ours.
Just his.
No,
What was his?
His was 776.
Now it's 630. Now it's 630, based upon your 4 late payments. Now, is this a new car?
Yes.
You know, when you walk out of the showroom, the car is diminished by 20%.
Yes.
So we had to take over a car that was now worth 20% less because you ruined his credit, in addition to cutting off his cell phone and insurance. Forget that. So you don't get anything for that, Ms. Blanco? Nothing.
It wasn't an agreement. I know that says it's agreement, but when we were signing it upstairs, I circled it and said it wasn't really an agreement.
Whether it was or it was not, you cannot ruin the co-signatory's credit rating because you had a problem with your job. That's not his problem.
He knew that, and we were trying. We both wanted to make payments on it, but they didn't take credit card.
No.
And I tried my hardest to get a second job.
Did you buy a new car?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I'm saving up for it.
Good. That's what you should have done. That's what you should have done.
And that's what we wanted to do, and I wanted to do, and I have proof that I've tried my hardest to get my car to pass log so that I didn't have to get a new car. Also that when I was searching for a new car, I did not want payments whatsoever, and he convinced me to get a new car and get payments.
You are a very strong young lady, and you don't seem to me like somebody who's shy. You got into difficulty. He had a right to take back the car.
Not the way he did, though.
Listen,
I was at work, Your Honor.
I'm not saying he was Prince Charming. He had a right to take back the car.
But I was at work, Your Honor, when he came, and I had lunch with my boss, and he just took the car. He did not warn me. After lying about having the spare key,
I'm not the moral police, Miss Blanco. I'm here to decide a legal issue. The legal issue is, did he have the right to take the car? Absolutely. Did he have the right to sell the car? Absolutely. Did he have the right to keep the car and make the payment? Absolutely. That is his prerogative, because you ruined his credit. You have no right to do that. You have to be a big grown-up girl. And not say because I lost my job, I had surgery, I had other things that happened to me, and I this and I that. It's not my fault. He took the car the way I was having lunch with my boss. He didn't give me notice. You breached the contract to make the payments in a timely manner. May not have been of your own volition. It may have been because, I don't know, the sky was falling and henny penny and whatever other reason it was, but that can't impact on him. He's not your boyfriend anymore. He's not your boyfriend. He's not your father. He's not your brother. He has no moral obligation to you whatsoever. Now, you driving the car, sir?
No, it's currently garage at my mother's house.
Why?
Because I have nowhere to put it. I go to San Francisco State and I have no.
Well, who's going to drive the car?
My mom's driving it right now.
Oh, your mom's driving it. Good. So you have a nice car, right?
Right.
Good. So what are you complaining about?
By the time I sell the car to my supervisor here, I will have lost $5,000.
Well, you should have sold it to her sooner.
She doesn't have. She doesn't apply for a loan.
You should have sold it to her sooner. That's not her problem. That's your problem.
Okay.
You took back the car. Car is in good running order.
Yes.
And now you're paying for it and you're going to sell it to somebody else.
Okay.
And right now your mother's driving.
Right.
Very nice. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
So is your claim. You're not entitled to any money back. That's all. Thank you.
Stacy Levine says ex-boyfriend Rory Rodriguez owes for a cell phone bill and the cost of a plane ticket. Rory claims Stacy knew he wouldn't be able to pay her back.
Mr. Levine, this used to be your boyfriend, and according to your complaint, he owes you for a plane ticket and for a cell phone bill.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez says the cell phone was your idea in order to keep in touch with him, and he never used the plane ticket.
Yes.
How long did this romance go on? For how many months?
About 8 months.
And when did you get involved with his cell phone business?
In July of 2006.
How long had you known him?
7 months.
So you got involved in his cell phone business a month before you broke up.
Correct.
Tell me how that came about.
He had been complaining he had wanted a new phone, and he was on his father's plan. His father would not allow him to get a new phone, and we had discussed getting him a new phone with a different carrier so that we could talk with 3 minutes. Also, we had a verbal agreement that if I bought him a new phone, he would pay me back as soon as he got his check that month in July.
Where were you working?
I was a nanny. I was working as a nanny.
And what was he doing?
Nothing.
Well, when was he supposed to pay for the cell phone?
Well, he said he was getting another check in July from the school district.
What kind of work does he do for the school district?
He was a campus supervisor.
When was the bill that you claimed he owes you? Was it a bill or was it the actual cell phone?
There's two. I paid for the cell phone in July, and then there was also a bill that has accrued since we started the phone.
How much was the phone itself?
$229.30.
And how much was the bill?
The bill now is $724.38.
For how many months?
That was the last statement I got was in March of this last year.
Why didn't you just cut off the phone?
I did end up shutting off the phone. That was after he wrapped his charges. He had promised to pay the bill every month. I had set the bill to go to his address. His name was on it as well. My name was just used for credit purposes. So he got the statement every single month in the mail to his address. And he told me he was paying it.
You mean after you broke up?
Yes. Well, when I set up the phone in July, he
said he would pay it, but this $724 isn't for
climb
a
up
month.
there.
No, 2 months.
Come on.
It's you broke up
Eddie.
in August.
We did
Eddie.
break up in August, and I paid the first payment in September, and then
You did.
because he told me I was out of town.
Come up here. No.
He had paid, and I didn't want it
Okay.
to go into collections at that time, so I paid it over.
You broke up the next month's bill.
He told me he paid it. I was on the
Move
phone with the right
over
person
there.
that I
You're
sent
all
the check
over
to.
Lulu. That's enough.
She knew that I
That's
was
enough.
working for the school district. It's a 10.5 month job.
Well, then that's what you do for a living. You work for a school district that's a 10.5 month job.
Right. And she was well aware.
Don't tell me what she was aware of, sir. I want to hear your explanation of needing a new telephone.
I did not need a new telephone. I was perfectly fine with the one that I had underneath my father's plan. The only reason that she wanted me to have a cell phone was so that we could talk for free and we could text message for free.
Okay, so as one of your famous, fabulous 5 friends.
So something along those lines, yeah.
I don't do that. I don't have 5 people that I want to speak to that
Stay
often.
out of that.
Let's discount the phone for a second.
Stay out of that.
What about your cell phone bill? Why didn't you pay that?
I had no money. I was out of work. I wasn't out of work, but I wasn't working.
Well, get a job, sir.
I had a job.
Then don't talk on a cell phone.
We broke up in August, and after August, the phone was never used.
Oh, show me. Can I see a bill if that's true? If it's after August, is that what you're telling me?
The phone, once we broke up, the phone was...
That's the bill.
No, all I want to know is, you're saying to me, once you broke up in August, the phone was never used.
Correct.
He did not rack up $500 in a month.
Oh, no. I need the bills from September, October, November. This doesn't tell me anything, madam.
It says what the charges are.
For what month?
For all of them. The phone wasn't shut off until December.
I understand that the phone wasn't shut off until December, but there's a factual dispute. If he says that he did not use the phone after you broke up, then there's some credence to his story that you decided to get this phone so that the two of you could either chat or text message each other for nothing. One phone bill doesn't do it for me. Do you understand?
I understand that, yes.
Do you have the others with you?
I do not have any other phone bills with me.
Yeah, give this back to her for now.
That was the only way I was able to get a hold of him was his cell phone. So I did talk to him on the cell phone.
That's not my statement to you, madam. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Fine. So, since you didn't bring that with you, I'm going to dismiss the cell phone portion of your claim without prejudice. You can certainly sue him for that amount of money when you have the appropriate documents to back up your story. You don't have them today. Now let's get to the plane ticket. When was the plane ticket purchased?
July of 06.
July what?
I believe it was the 14th.
And when did you officially break up with him?
The last week of August.
When was this trip supposed to take place?
We were supposed to leave September 1st, and we broke up the very week before.
9/1. And where are you going?
We were going to Pennsylvania and Cleveland.
For what?
Pennsylvania to visit family, Cleveland to the Cleveland Clinic, and then to Canton to the Football Hall of Fame.
When did you purchase the ticket?
July 14th of 06.
Is that correct?
I'm not sure what the date was.
Well, I'm sure she has documents to show when she purchased the ticket and when you were supposed to leave.
I've never had, in my possession, I've never had the ticket, so I
It
don't
doesn't
know
make any
when she
difference.
bought it.
Because what I found interesting was you said that the reason you were going to Pennsylvania is to attend her grandfather's funeral. That's what you say. And I said to myself, well, how do you plan for something like that 2-3 weeks in advance? You know, I don't know if her grandfather is alive or not, but you don't.
Her grandfather did pass away.
Yes.
On the trip that we were supposed to go to, her grandfather did pass away.
But he didn't pass away.
I have no idea what you just said to me.
Her grandfather passed away on the trip that we were supposed to go to.
But you hadn't planned on going there for his funeral unless he had some sort of premonition that he was going, sir.
We did though, ma'am. It was something that was known for a while that
he was going to die while you were there?
Not while we were there, but
you sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous. You mean she wanted to go visit her grandfather because he was sick?
Right.
That's not what you said here. You said that you planned to go to Pennsylvania to attend her grandfather's funeral.
Right.
He's not too sweet. Okay, tell me about the plane ticket.
We were going to go visit family in Pennsylvania and then move on to Cleveland. He was going to accompany me and my mother. My mother actually purchased the tickets and spoke with Roy on the phone.
Perfect. Can you step up? Your last name is
Randall.
Miss Randall, tell me about the conversation you had with Mr. Rodriguez about this plane ticket.
On the day that we were purchasing the tickets, I spoke with him on the phone, and he told me he would reimburse Stacy for the airfare. And at the same time, we opened up the airline's frequent flyer mileage account for him, set that up, and it was my clear understanding from him during the conversation.
I don't want to hear your clear understanding.
Sorry.
I want to
he would reimburse Stacy for the cost of the airline ticket.
And then what happened? Thank you.
We broke up.
Yes.
And there was no reason for me to go on a trip with him if we weren't together.
Absolutely right, sir.
And at the same time,
was the ticket refundable?
It was non-refundable. I tried transferring it into my name so that I could use it. I was not able to do that. I told him that as soon as I knew that. I said, here's the ticket. You know, you can use it for up to a year later. I did not give it to him because he had not paid for it. And he still has until July 14th of this year to use it.
Did you have that discussion with him?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember that discussion when she said it's non-transferable, but you can use it for up to a year?
Yes.
Well, then you have to pay for it.
When we had talked originally about buying this ticket, I told her, just as a cell phone, I did not have money because
I believe her mother, that her mother had the discussion with you, sir. I believe her mother. I do not believe you that you didn't have that discussion with her mother.
I'm not saying that I didn't have the discussion with her mother, but what I'm saying is that I was out of work.
I don't care whether you were out of work.
And I let them know that I couldn't pay them immediately.
That's a different story. The word is immediately. So you don't intend to be unemployed forever.
We had broken up, so there was no reason for me to even go on a trip with them.
Of course not, sir, but the ticket is non-refundable. I want you to try to expand your brain a little bit, Mr. Rodriguez. The fact that you broke up and you had non-refundable ticket, let's say instead of going to Pennsylvania, you were going with her to Cancun, Mexico, and you purchased 2 non-refundable tickets. She put it on her credit card. You broke up. There's no question. You said, listen, we're not going on this trip. She's not going to go alone. I'm not going to go alone. But the airline says to you, and they say to you, listen, if you can't back, but you can reschedule within the next 6 months. She put it on her credit card. Do you think you're responsible to pay her for those tickets?
No.
You have an opportunity to use the tickets, but you can't say, I'm not going to touch those tickets. You promised the mother that you were going to pay her back for the tickets. You had an opportunity to use them for a year. You should have used them. And I suggest you get your behinds into gear because you still have a couple of days to use them. Figure out where you want to go. If you want to go to the Hall of Fame, that's a great place to go for a weekend. How much were the tickets?
$331.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $331. With regard to the cell phone bill, you bring the right proof. Either I'll entertain your application or another court of competent jurisdiction will do that. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Eve Dettenheim is suing her sister, Carol Dettenheim, for damaging her car when she ran into a deer. Carol says she offered her sister a portion of the deer meat as payment.
Miss Dettenheim, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, she took your car. Your neighbors?
Yes.
She took your car, you say without permission, had an accident, you want her to pay for the damage to your car. The sister says she really had your permission because she used to borrow the car all the time. You left the back door open, she grabbed the keys, she needed some diapers or something, she wanted to go to the store. There was an accident, it was unavoidable, she hit a deer, damaged the car, and her defense is you should have had better insurance. Is that your defense?
I thought she had full coverage.
What made you think that?
I just didn't think.
You didn't think? Who are you relying on to do your thinking?
I just used it all the time and she wasn't home, so I went over there to get the key and went, and the deer just jumped out in front of me.
Was the deer hurt?
Oh, it died.
Did you wait for somebody to come and take the carcass away?
No, I put fine straw over it and took the antler and went and got it later.
When you got what later?
The deer.
What did you do with it?
Ate it.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am, and she even offered me some, but I'm not having rigor mortis stew.
I did not have rigor mortis on that.
That is sick.
Can I see pictures of your car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, Miss Dettenheim?
Louisiana.
Where in Louisiana?
Hansel.
How long have you and your sister been neighbors?
For 1 year.
Who moved close to whom?
She moved close to me.
You have an estimate to fix this car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. Are you angry with your sister?
A little bit. I feel like she needs to own up to the responsibility that she did damage my car and make what is wrong right.
So, what do you think?
Well, that night when I told her about the wreck, I thought it was just a headlight. And, we talked about it and looked at everything. But then the next morning, she come over there just hollering at me, banging on my door. telling me how I owed her and all this, and I have helped her with a lot of stuff in the past and has made my life. I had to move because, I mean, I still have the house, but I can't stay with her. She'll do stuff like rev up her engine in the morning, trying to wake up my son and stuff, trying to make my life hard, and it's become an issue. It's like the Hatfield McCoys or something. So,
Do you work?
No, ma'am.
How do you support yourself?
My boyfriend.
Does he live with you?
Well, I'm staying with him now just because she's hard to be next to.
When's the last time you were employed?
I'm a student right now. It's been almost a year. I've been a stay-at-home mom.
A student of what?
I'm going to be a bail bondsman.
And how often do you go to school for that?
Right now, it's just a little course right now.
So why don't you work?
Because,
well, you have to because you owe your sister $1,300.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to have to owe
Thank you for the pleasure for the amount of $1,300. Thank you very much. Go back to Louisiana and be happy.
Stephen Mosher is suing his brother, 26-year-old William Mosher, for smashing him in the head with a wooden bowl. Stephen says the incident started as an argument over the TV.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, case number 231 on the calendar, Madam. Mosher versus Mosher.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Price has been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Mosher, you claim that your brother assaulted you.
Yes.
He assaulted you at his home, where you were a guest.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My parents, ma'am.
How old are you?
26.
What's your first name?
William.
Who do you live with?
My wife.
And your first name is?
Stephen.
So it is your claim that William assaulted you. William says that there was a fight that you started. You just got the worst of the fight.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this argument take place, Stephen?
This occurred on September 25th, about 8:45 p.m. My wife and I, Amanda, we had gone over to my parents' house to visit, have dinner. Everything was fine. There was no arguments. We had dinner. Everyone adjourned outside. We began watching a television show, my wife and I, at 8 o'clock.
Where?
In the kitchen on a small 15-inch, 17-inch television.
Okay.
About 45 minutes into the program, the defendant walked through the kitchen.
The brother?
Yes. Walked through the kitchen into the living room and turned on the large television with surround sound. He turned it on very loud. I don't know what his problem was, but he turned it on very loud. I walked into the living room. And I asked him very politely. I said, "Hey, man, can you please just turn down the television a little bit?" And at that time, he yelled at me, profanities. I turned around. I didn't say anything to him. I came back into the kitchen. I sat down. I tried to hear my program that I'd been watching for 45 minutes already. And I could not hear it. I sat directly in front of the television set, turned it up. I still couldn't hear it. I walked all the way back into the living room, and I asked him again. I said, "Man, can you please just turn it down a little bit?" Politely.
That I don't believe.
3 times. Three times, Your Honor.
Stephen, first time maybe, second time I don't believe.
Well, Your Honor, he had an anger problem.
Stephen, first time I believe you went inside. Could you turn it down?
Mm-hmm.
Second time I don't believe you went inside and very politely asked him to turn it down. So let's revise that.
I tell you the truth, Your Honor.
Oh, go ahead.
I went in there. I asked him a second time. He said the
so
same
after
thing
he
again.
cursed you the first time, listen
Yes.
to me, Stephen. After he cursed you the first time, you went inside and said politely to him again, "Hey man, could you please turn it down?" I just want you to tell me, is that what you're selling to me?
No, ma'am.
Is that what you're selling to me?
That's what happened.
Go ahead. Keep going.
I went back into the living room for the second time. I asked him again politely. He shouted profanities at me again. I walked back into the kitchen. I still couldn't hear it. By this time, I'm getting a little frustrated. I walked outside of the home. I looked for my parents. I didn't see them. I came back inside. I'm still at the television. I still can't hear it. I walked back in there again. I actually tried to turn down the television myself. I look off the corner of my eye. I see a defendant running at me. And I kind of put my hands up. I'm like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" At that time, he struck me on the side of the face. I wrapped my arms around him and was struggling to hold him. He was trying to hit me. We fell down to the floor. He was still trying to strike me. At that time, I had my head down, trying to protect myself, holding him down. He did come free. We stood back up. I was still trying to hold on to him. I was holding on to his shirt. His shirt started to come off. I stepped back. He pulled his shirt off the rest of the way, and he came at me again. I grabbed him again, put my arms around him again. I did not one time hit him. I backed him up all the way to the fireplace area, which is probably about 8 feet away. I let go of him. I stepped back to where we originally were. He grabbed a large wooden bowl, ran at me like this. When he got closer to me, I tried to duck because I thought he was going to throw it at me. He hit me in the back of the head. I fell to the floor. I blacked out for a split second. And she came into the room, and she was yelling at him to stop. Finally, I got up. I was dizzy. I reached back to the back of my head. My head was busted open. I was bleeding. I had blood all over my hands.
And you had stitches?
I went to the hospital. They put stitches in.
Okay. All right, Mr. Mosher, let me hear your version of the events.
When I was watching TV, Actually, I didn't have it up that loud. It is loud because it's a surround sound system. You can't.
What were you watching, William?
I don't even know. It doesn't matter. I mean, it was just TV.
It matters to me. What kind of answer is that? It doesn't matter.
It was just
I asked you
regular
what you were
TV
watching.
programming. I mean, it wasn't nothing special. I was just watching TV. Every time he comes over.
Just a sec. Don't tell me every time. On the 25th of September, we saw that your brother and his wife were watching television in the kitchen.
Yes, ma'am.
You went into the living room to watch something that was sort of irrelevant to you because you would have remembered it, considering the fact that you were arrested that night or at some point.
There was a lot of other things going on. I really don't remember with everything going on.
I would have remembered what it was that was so important. So your brother came in, and the first time he asked you to turn it down.
He never said please. He came in and he said, "Turn this down. I'm watching TV," is what he said. So, of course, he's not going to get a good response out of me. I just turned it up. He turned up his TV.
Just a second. So he came in and he said, "Turn it down. I'm watching TV." But you already knew he was watching TV, right?
Yes, ma'am. Usually, there isn't this problem. If he would have came at me and asked me nicely, I would have turned it down right away. But every time he comes over, it's like he's trying to be the boss of me. And I just got sick of it. I mean, it's every time. And
so he came in the first time, said turn it down, so instead you turned it up.
He's
just a second. And then what happened the second time?
The second time he came in and he started yelling at me. I yelled some profanities back at him.
That sounds right.
He did the same, Your Honor.
I believe that.
And then it went to a third time. The third time he came in, he comes in and he switches all the dials, turns everything he can possibly turn off, and messes it all up. And I come running up to him, and there was kind of a little bit of an altercation there, and then I hit him, and he kind of hit and spun me to the ground, pulled my shirt.
Why did you hit him?
I was mad.
Well, you can't hit somebody just because you're mad. You're 26 years old.
I know.
Well, you can't do that. Is that your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how you two boys are aggravating your mother? How many of you are there?
It's just me, us two, and my little sister.
That would be you. You know how you're aggravating your mother?
He also said that if I were to call and apologize, that he would not go any further with anything. Well, I called a couple times, couldn't get a hold of him.
What did you hit him with a bow for?
Because after he had pulled my shirt over my head and I was getting choked and beat on the back, I had bruises all over my back. I had marks on my neck where my shirt had been pulled around my neck. And as I got up, I'm like at a loss for oxygen. I'm mad. I've been beat on.
You hit him first.
I know. Reached over and grabbed the first thing I could and swung at him. And my arm wrapped around him like this and caught him. I apologized. I wanted him to come over for dinner. We could talk it over.
Did you, shh. Come on. Now, did you say, I want to pay your hospital bill, I want to pay your medical bills?
Well, I would have. I mean, if he'd actually talked to me, I haven't even been able to talk to him. I've called, I've left messages to come eat dinner and do things, try to talk it over as a family.
Well, I think you should probably do that, if for nobody else's sake, but for your mother's sake. Do you see your mother?
Very rarely. The relationship has very much been her. It's been very stressful on the entire family. It hasn't just been this one offense. There's been several recorded, unrecorded criminal offenses made by the defendant.
Against who?
Against me and other people.
What other offenses against you?
Well, I haven't lived with my parents for probably 8 to 10 years. At that time, that brief time that I did live there, for some reason, the defendant had a taser. I was actually tasered one time.
Oh, you boys got to stop fighting.
It was either that or go to a big
How old
fight.
Are you?
I'm 30 years old now.
You got to stop fighting. There comes a time you got to stop beating up on each other.
I'm not interested in fighting. I've never been.
Good. What are your medical bills, sir? Just give me the bills that you have to pay out of pocket.
I have a medical bill for $377.27, $100, and $25. I have suffered a lot professionally and personally.
Why not professionally?
Well, my head was busted open. I had 2 staples in the back of my head.
I believe you.
I had a huge mark on my face for about a month. I had really bad headaches in the back of my head. I've never had headaches before in my life.
What kind of work do you do, William?
I work for a pool company.
Doing what?
Cleaning pools.
Okay. Well, I understand that he feels very, very angry. The truth of the matter is that you were wrong. You were wrong on all counts. You were wrong because your brother and his wife were guests in your home. So if you know that they're watching television in the kitchen, which you in fact knew, and you have a much larger setup in the living room, if you wanted to be a nice person to the guests in your home, you say, listen, there's nothing particularly important that I'm watching. Why don't you guys go inside in the living room and watch the program in surround sound? You chose not to do that. You chose to act like a baby. You went into the room, you turned on the television, the surround sound, He came inside, and I absolutely do not believe his story that he came in and asked you very politely to turn it down. That's not what a 30-year-old brother does. He comes in and says, turn it down, I'm watching TV, especially when he's got his wife in the kitchen egging him on a little bit. Would that be a fair statement, Miss Mosier? You don't know.
I was low in the RV.
You don't know. But then, when he comes inside and says to you, please turn it down, he acted like a bigger baby and you turned it up.
Well, if he would have asked for
I don't, listen, if I were 5'7", I probably would have been on the cover of Vogue, but I'm not. So if he would have said to you, would you please turn it down? Yes, you would have turned it down. If he said, would you please turn it down? You wouldn't hit him on the head with a bowl. You wouldn't have punched him in the face. Stop being a baby. Your mother may baby you. I'm not going to baby you. You did the wrong thing. And for that, you have to pay. Now, your brother could be, a big brother and say, listen, it was a horrible thing, but I don't want it to interfere with my relationship with my mother anymore or with my sister anymore. I want it just to get over it. He chooses not to do that. He chooses to let it fester, which is not a smart thing to do because it doesn't make anybody in your family feel better. And I'm not so concerned about him. I'm more concerned about your mother. In any event, I'm awarding you $1,000 for all this pain and suffering and other stuff that you have, and $502 for your medical bills. And that's it, Mr. Mosier, because I also think that you didn't handle it well. Because you could have taken your wife and left instead of letting it escalate by going inside and touching property that wasn't yours, which you did.
I did ask politely.
I don't care whether you ask politely or not. If you ask politely and somebody says no, and if you don't like the game, go home to your own house and watch the program. You don't go into his room when he's watching television and it's his home and touch his property. You could have dealt with it, sure. Which is why, sir, you're not getting the $5,000 that you're asking for. You are being compensated marginally. Your medical bills and $1,000 for your pain and suffering. Period. End of discussion. Do we understand each other? Goodbye.
Kashmir Bigda says the fiancé of his child's mother, Justin Hellinger, punched him out at work. Justin is countersuing for child support costs and for false charges made to CPS.
Mr. Bigda, how old are you, sir?
I'm 28 years old, Your Honor.
Is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been married?
We've been married for roughly 3 years, almost 4.
You have children?
Yes, ma'am. I have 2 by my wife, Your Honor.
Your complaint says, sir, that the defendant is the boyfriend of the mother of another of your children. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you married to your wife at the time that this child was conceived?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
How old is the child that you have with, what's your name?
Selena.
Selena.
She just turned 2, Your Honor.
And this is your complaint, Mr. Victor. Your complaint is that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
And in addition, you claim that you made a small loan to him to cover some insurance payment that he needed. Mr. Hellinger says that you precipitated this argument. And in addition, he is counterclaiming. He alleges that you called Child Protective Services on him on more than one occasion. And in addition, he says that he's been supporting your child, correct?
Yes.
How much child support do you pay, Mr. Victor?
I pay $36 weekly, court ordered.
Do you pay it every week?
Yes, I do, ma'am. It's taken directly out of my paycheck, Your Honor.
And how much is your paycheck, sir?
My paycheck, it ranges anywhere from $300 to $600, depending on how many hours I work.
Then why do you only pay $36 a week in child support? Put your hand down.
Because that's what the court had ordered, because I have 2 other children and a wife. My wife does not work, so I have...
Why doesn't your wife work?
Because she stays home and takes care of our 2-year-old.
You have another 2-year-old? You are very busy, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you work and earn $600 a week all the time, Mr. Victor?
Because the paper mill doesn't always have overtime. Some weeks you might work 12-hour days. Some days you just work 8 hours. It varies if we have people that call in or...
Yes.
I worked at the same paper mill, and overtime's always welcome. I left that job because of him. Right now, I'm currently climbing trees. So
for a living?
Yes, I cut trees down. I work for tree service.
Trees down. You said I climb trees. Like
so
I didn't know that you make a living doing that.
So when he says that the overtime ain't there, it is always there at that mill. I work there. I also put in tons of hours.
Mr. Bigton, it's outrageous that you only pay $36 a week in child support, sir. I'm telling you that right now. Even if you pay it, you want to tell me that you don't even pay it. But if you pay it, that's an outrageous figure for you to pay for child support. It's not your child's fault, sir, that you didn't know how to keep your whatever in your pants. That's outrageous. What?
Sorry. He
I only received $26 out of that 36. 10 of it goes to the Department of Social Services towards arrears.
Yes.
And the rear support is actually medical bills for Mrs. Catterette and for having the baby. It's not rear.
No. It's not medical bills for her, sir. It's the birthing expenses for your child. Because when you make a baby, it has to be born.
Yes, that's what.
Right? Put your hand down. I don't know why you still tolerate him. Yeah, I'd be visiting him, and bringing flowers. Now, I'm ready to hear, sir, your tale of woe.
On the beginning of January 2007, I had recommended Justin because he had not had a job for a while to the paper mill that I worked at, and they had hired him. And on January 18th, I had loaned the defendant $50 to get his car insured so he could get to and from work. 2 days later, I had also loaned him another $20 so he would have gas money. And at that current time, I was out on disability due to my hand. I had to have carpal tunnel surgery on hand. And during that time, things were going good. I had come back to work roughly the end of February. And at the end of February...
So you weren't paid for the entire month of February?
I was paid. I had the support reduced, and it was I'm all caught up as we speak.
What'd you ever reduce to? How could they reduce it any lower?
Because it was reduced because I was only bringing home $230 a week due to disability. I have proof of what I had loaned him.
Get on to these. So far, he has $70, sir.
All right.
$70 from the $26 a week that you pay in child support, not $36. $10 goes for arrears. You acknowledge that. So you pay $26 a week, which is less than $100 a month. You want me to translate that by day, sir? Let me translate that. $26 a week divided by 7 equals $3.71 a day. That's what you pay. Let's move on.
Also, when I had returned back to work on February 26th, Justin Hellinger had assaulted me several times.
Well, I want you to tell me what happened. What's the basis of your claim, sir? Let's hear it.
Pretty much what happened is I try to see my daughter whenever I can, and he does not want me to see my daughter, and he tries to control when I can and when I can't. And he told me if I call to have any contact, he'd kill me and bury me. On the night of January 13th, Mr. Hellinger had come down to my part of the plant where he should not have been and started having verbal words with me. He told me that he was going to beat me up and I didn't want to have any kind of problem, so I went to turn around. And when I turned around, he had closed his fists and hit me on the left side of my head, 2 centimeters from my temple. And I was taken to the hospital by the employers. I have hospital statements showing
I'd like to see those, please. Okay. Now, Mr. Hellinger, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened on the 13th, please.
The bathroom is downstairs in the mill, so I was going down to the bathroom. There's 2 flights of stairs. I went down one flight, he went down the other. We intercepted each other in the middle. It's about a 10, 15-foot hallway. I confronted him about what he was doing to me, why he was calling my house at midnight.
Just a second. When you say you confronted him, what did you say to him?
I said, Kevin, why do you keep calling my house at midnight harassing me and my family?
When did he call your house at midnight? Put your hand down!
It was probably the beginning of January when all this...
How many times did he call your house at midnight?
Several.
Who did he speak to?
Her or me when I was there.
What did he say to you when he called at midnight?
Asked how I was doing and if Justin was being good, if I was doing all right and everything was all right between us. Pretty much wanted to know about my relationship with Justin.
Did you ever tell him not to call your house at midnight?
Justin has several times.
Why did you call their house at midnight?
I personally didn't. My wife did. My wife and Selena were good friends, and Selena had asked my wife to call so they could just talk about our child and other things. They were friends, and Mr. Hellinger does not like her wife. So she would ask my wife to call late at night when Justin went to work.
I'm asking you, sir. I have personally
never called his house after 10 o'clock. My wife had always done the calling for me because he would not allow me to call.
For you?
He would not allow me to call.
When your wife called, did you ever get on the phone?
There's been a few times.
When your wife, just the answer is either yes or no. When your wife placed the call, did you ever get on the phone?
Yes.
That's what he's complaining about. Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you confronted him about the calls that were coming to your house being made by his wife, but then the phone being turned over to the plaintiff.
Yes.
And what happened next?
He got a little irate, got loud with me.
No. Tell me what he said.
He can do anything he wants with his kid. And if he wants to be with Selena, he can be with her anytime he wants because he can just take her out of the bar and do what he wants to her. And
put your hand down.
It made me grumpy.
Made you grumpy?
Yes, very grumpy.
Probably mild.
He slandered me. He slandered me through the whole mill, told Mill all my business, told the Mill, a lot of the people I work with, that I was beating her and the kid. I confronted him about that too. He started to come at me, and at that time, I just pushed through with him. And I don't know if I hit him in the head or not, but I did.
Well, you did hit him in the head, sir.
I had an open hand. I never closed my hand when I hit him because he's handicapped. I would not hit a handicapped person.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. I had made a report to the police. He was arrested. I have the arrest.
Now you can stand up.
And I have told people about Justin at the mill. And the reason why I did that is because I fear for my daughter's welfare. That's why I keep persisting. He's a registered 2 sex offender, and it is on the website for everybody to see. I fear for my little girl's life, and so
yes.
I've been with this little girl for 2 years. My officer said it's fine. I have 2 children of my own. I also get every other weekend. Being around his daughter is no problem to me. I'm not dangerous to anybody. What I've done in my past was my business. The fact, yes, it is. I am registered, but it don't affect my life at all. I have a good job. I work around several 100,000 people a day. I go to people's homes.
Did your prior conviction involve children?
No, it did not. It involved an underage girl, which I did not know her name, or her age, I should say.
How old are you now?
I am.
Put your hand down.
I am 24.
24. And when was this conviction?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, when you were 22.
Yes.
And how old was the girl?
16.
Got it. Fine. Now, fine legally, but that's a totally different scenario than pedophilia. That's just dumb.
Understood.
And you have too many children, sir, at age 24. If you have 3 children.
Yes.
You too. I don't care how many trees you climb, and I don't care how much poke you make. Now, you want to say something to me?
The phone calls that were made to Selena were me returning calls and her returning my calls. He did not take the phone every time. Only once in a while.
Listen, he took the phone more than once. Madam, I don't even have to be there to know that he took the phone more than once. Right. Anything else you want to say?
Just that the support issue, we give them money on the side to above what the court orders. We also buy Davina's clothes, Davina's diapers, her wipes, her shoes. And when we do send them home.
Show me receipts.
I'm right here, where I spend at Walmart off of my bank card.
Show me.
There's a few. There's Walmart there where we spent $502 to buy clothes, diapers, wipes, food.
What about for whose children?
For his daughter.
And not for your children?
No, not at that point. No, I buy her separately.
Follow me. I don't believe a word of what you... Sit down. You think that I believe that you went and spent $500 on his daughter and none of that?
Some of it was on his daughter. Not all.
Now that's better.
I'm sorry.
Some of it was... You made a mistake.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
What?
Also, I fear for my child because last summer, roughly June or July, the defendant was also arrested because his girlfriend Selena had left him, and he rolled his car trying to kill himself on purpose. And he had a suicide message left on my machine. I didn't bring that with me today.
Yes.
The fact that I tried to kill myself has nothing to do with
his
child. I was not with him.
Yes,
I got help.
Listen to me. That's a legitimate concern.
I understand it is.
Okay? That's a legitimate concern. If you have suicidal thoughts, that's one thing. If you act out those suicidal thoughts and you are around the child, that's a legitimate concern that a parent might have. You get it?
Yep.
Now, I assume that formed the basis of at least one of the calls to Child Protective Services.
No, it did not.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
How many times did you call Child Protective Services?
3 times.
Tell me about the 3 times.
The one time was when he rolled his car, and Selena, the mother of my child, was worried, so we got together and had called. The second time was when he called my house going irate, and he threatened to kill me and bury me and told me I could not see my child, so I was very concerned about the welfare of my daughter. And the third time was due to him stalking and calling me names and stuff. He had even stooped low. He had convinced his girlfriend to go to the police and report that I had raped her. That's how our daughter was conceived. And the police had come to my house, and she was filed for making a false report and is under community service for trying to have me arrested.
Is that correct? Okay. That's not good. That's not good.
I was highly intoxicated the night that me and Kashmir, conceived my daughter.
So?
I don't remember any of it, and it was not a coerced thing. I went to the police department on my own.
How much after your daughter was born?
6 months, maybe.
So we had 9 months and 6 months. You had 15 months to think about it?
I was not
Yeah, by the way, I do that. Okay. Mr. Hellinger, he was clearly assaulted and he clearly lost your temper. So you have to be responsible for his medical bills.
Yeah.
What?
I have a unfounded paper from Social Services January 30th that he called on me where I was unfounded.
Yeah, that's okay. He has legitimate concerns about you. Are you getting any help for yourself?
Yes, I am.
Good. You seeing somebody regularly?
Yes, I do.
Put your hand down. Listen, if you think that I find you a sympathetic character, I do not. You were disloyal to your wife. You created a situation that she's going to have to live with and suffer with her whole life if she decides to stay with you. She has 2 children with you. I guarantee you the day that you told her that you had another child the same age as your youngest child was not the happiest day of her life. So if you think that I believe that you're a sympathetic character, I believe that you are an unsympathetic character, sir. As far as the money that you claim you gave him, that's hardly makes up for the amount of money he contributes to support your child. So he's going to pay your medical bills, which are roughly $500. Unfortunately, Mr. Hellinger, you want to be compensated for supporting his child. That's your prerogative. If you choose to do that, you do that gratuitously.
That ain't a big problem to me, the harassment.
Fine. And as far as calling some of your behavior, sir, is questionable. And I suggest to you, I will continue with the help that you're getting because you probably need it. What?
I also have proof that I lost wages.
I don't care if you lost wages.
When he
Make up for it for the $26 a week that you send to support your child with $3.71 a day. I'm telling you, sir, you are an unsympathetic person to me. I think that you would like to have control over this situation that you created. Were you drunk the night that she got pregnant?
No, I was not.
Was she?
Yes.
You know how unsympathetic you are? The scale of sympathy for me just went to a -10. So she was drunk. You weren't. You clearly then took advantage of somebody. That a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he's going to cover your medical bills. Period. To $500. What a situation you created, sir. You created this whole situation. I don't know, because she was drunk. How old are you?
23.
And you?
28.
All right, so you get your medical bills. Try to live with each other in peace.
25-year-old Anna Highmark is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eddie Rigsby Jr., for the return of her belongings. Anna says Eddie threw her out of their apartment and then disposed of her property.
Miss Highmark, what was your relationship with the defendant when you moved in with him?
We were friends. At that point, there was no other involvement.
According to what I'm reading between the lines, you moved in with him and relocated from one jurisdiction to another.
Correct.
And you traveled with a child.
Correct.
How old is your child?
She's 6.
Where had you been living?
In South Dakota, in Madison.
And where did you move to, sir?
Quad Cities, Illinois.
Who did you know in Illinois?
I knew nobody, but my apartment had flooded and I had to move either way. And I dislike South Dakota tremendously. And
who lives in South Dakota?
All of my family.
So you were going to Illinois with a 6-year-old child, with someone with whom you were no longer romantically involved, just a friend, leaving your entire family and support system there. Did you have a job?
Within a week of moving to Illinois.
You found a job?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Working at the Army base.
Are you still there?
No, that was a temporary job. I've worked a series of temporary jobs since then.
Are you still in Illinois?
I'm in Iowa, across the border.
Who were you living with?
A friend.
Male friend or female friend?
Male.
When did you meet him?
When I moved to Illinois, about 3 weeks after.
And your daughter? Where's her father?
Her father is in South Dakota still.
Who's this?
This is my daughter's grandmother.
Her father's mother?
Yes.
Is your claim that when you moved with Mr. Rigsby to Illinois, you moved into his apartment and they threw you out of the apartment and discarded your property?
My claim is that we got an apartment together where I was going to stay for about 2 months.
Is there a lease on the apartment?
In his name.
So then you didn't get an apartment together. He got an apartment.
With my money as well.
So what happened?
The day we arrived in Illinois, he began threatening me, saying he was going to have random women come over and beat me up. And when I was at work, he was going to throw my things out on the street and a variety of things like that. And he got into my jewelry box a number of times. And 3 days in a row, I called and politely asked him not to dig in my jewelry box anymore.
Where did you call him?
On his cell phone, which I had gotten for him.
Why didn't you have this discussion when he came home? Was he not staying at home?
No, he wasn't.
When did he stop staying in his apartment?
The day he got it.
Why?
Because we didn't get along.
Where was he living?
Random women's apartments.
Who paid the rent?
It was split 50-50. There was 2 months free rent. There was a $450 deposit. I put down $200 on the deposit and he put down $250.
So the first 2 months that you were there was no rent?
I was only there for 26 days.
So what you're telling me is you paid $200 to live there for 26 days?
Correct.
Okay. When did you come home and take her stuff and put it out at the curb, sir?
She was there for about a month. It was 2 days before the month was up. I put it on the curb. It wasn't on the curb. It was in front of the door. And this was like, I put most of it out there.
Curb. You wrote curb, sir.
Well, door. I meant.
Well, tell me the circumstances of
after, let's see, I put all the little stuff out first. Hope she'd come back because I didn't want to put the TV. She had a little 1980s TV and an old bamboo chair, and I didn't want to put it out there because I didn't want to steal it. A month and a half goes by. She still hasn't been there.
Are you telling me that she left the apartment?
She called the cops on me. After the month was up, I told her she'd stay there 1 month. I said, you have to get your own place. My landlord didn't even want her there. She hit my garage. She almost hit my landlord driving around.
A month is gone. And what happened?
I told her she had to go.
So did she leave?
She called the cops on me.
She called the cops on you?
She said I was an intruder in my own home.
Okay. After the police arrived, what happened, Miss Highmark?
They said that there was no reason to arrest him.
There wasn't.
Besides his threatening me and bringing over people saying they were going to beat me up and
Miss Highmark, get over it. I don't believe you, period. Keep going. So you called the police. I called the police. Said the lease to the apartment is in his name. They're not going to put him out. And what did you do?
I said I need a safe place to go. And they put me in a domestic violence shelter.
Perfect. So you left that night?
Yes.
When did you come back for your things?
Every day for the next month and a half.
Tell me how you went back.
I went back looking for his vehicle. His vehicle was not there. He was not there. So I left a note on his door saying I would be there the following Sunday at 2 p.m. I showed up and he was not there. So I went over there consistently every day looking for his vehicle until finally one day I did find his vehicle there and called the police and had them knock on the door and ask if I could retrieve my belongings. And he said he no longer had them, although they were visible behind him.
What was visible behind him? A pot, you said.
There's crock pot, knife blocks, and dishes.
You mean you saw that from the door where he was standing?
What was in the kitchen I could see, because it was the kitchen door. Okay. This is the list right here of items.
Let me take a look at it.
Those are the list of things that I was not able to retrieve.
Where's her cat? Did you take the cat?
I was going to a domestic violence shelter. I was not able to. Did you see her cat?
No. That cat ran around outside all the time, and that cat was never around. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat in the pipe.
The cat was still there. The next day when I returned, the only belongings that he had put out on the curb were the empty litter box with the scoop and the cat food and the folder of papers.
So if I got a cat just running around doing his thing all over my house.
Maybe worth $1,000. Maybe, if I believe it's all there. $5,000 never happened. It's garbage stuff. You can't put it out. Do you understand?
See, this is the thing. She knew I worked during the day. She knew when to come get her stuff. I work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. She knows, come at night.
Listen to me. You go to a local police precinct and you say, listen, this is what I have. I have all this junk, because all this is
junk.
Yeah. But it's her junk. It's not your junk. So you don't have the right to throw out her junk. You understand that?
I understand that.
It's annoying. She was annoying. I get it. But you have no right to dump her stuff. You have to preserve it for a reasonable period of time, considering the fact that she was removed from the house with her child, limited window of time. So you have to take reasonable care, especially since she did pay $200 towards the rent, right?
Yes.
None of this stuff is worth, according to you, $6,574. Not on a great day is this.
I don't know what she's got up there, but what she left was a 1980s TV, a piece of junk bamboo chair, some CDs, and a crock pot.
What'd you do with the CDs?
All this stuff was gone. I don't even listen to the CDs. Not even kind of music I listen to.
Judgment to the plaintiff for the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
B.J. Harris says his sister, Rosa Harris White, threw an ashtray at his car in a fit of anger. Rosa claims she was defending herself.
Mr. Harris, the defendant is your sister.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it is your claim that she vandalized your car.
That's correct.
You want her to fix it.
That's correct.
Your sister says that she was merely defending her in the process of assaulting her. And she didn't mean to vandalize your car. She was trying to protect herself by throwing this object which accidentally hit your car. That's what she says.
Yes.
From what I gathered from these papers, Miss White, you have a baby.
Yes.
And your mother has custody of the baby.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And why does your mother have custody of the baby?
Last year in November, I went to jail because of an argument me and her had. So she pressed charges. I went to jail.
How long did you go to jail for?
Only in a week.
Were you living with your mother at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the child court ordered placed with your mother?
Yes.
Was there a hearing with regard to that?
Yes.
Did you give testimony or did you consent to your mother having custody?
No, I didn't even know she had custody. Actually, I received a paper in the mail saying she had custody and I didn't know why. So.
Were you involved with drugs?
No.
Were you involved with alcohol?
No.
Were you partying?
No.
You mean you just decided to let your mother keep custody of your child?
Well, I went to court and they kept custody of him actually. So
you went to court?
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, here we go. So you went to court and you spoke to the judge?
Yes.
And there was testimony taken?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that they got me in this bench from Central Casting? You think that they actually... I'm here because I did this work for a long time. Do you understand?
Yes.
So after a custody hearing, the court determined that you were sufficiently unreliable, I will not say unfit, and gave your mother custody of the child. Now, the child lives with your mother. Do you have visitation, supervised or unsupervised?
Supervised.
Supervised by whom?
People downtown, the DSS worker.
You showed up at your mother's home to see your son on what date?
I think the 18th.
18th of February?
Yes.
Were you supposed to be there?
Yes.
I thought you said you had supervised visitation downtown.
No. Actually, they just changed it to downtown. I was having supervised visit by my mother.
Yes.
Actually, Your Honor, on February 18th, which is when this incident occurred, she had actually gotten into an altercation with her boyfriend, who tends to have a penchant for getting in trouble with the law. And so because he had attacked her, she had came over to my mother's house.
But that's not true.
Hold on a second. I assume that that's what she told you.
Yes.
Then she doesn't say that now because Mr. Wonderful is sitting right here.
Correct.
Good.
And by the way, he is on probation, Your Honor, so I don't even know why he's here.
He's not allowed to leave the state?
I believe so. We reside in New York State.
New York State allow you to leave the jurisdiction, sir?
No, I'm off probation.
You're off probation. Super.
Sorry.
Well, 10 million people will know, including your probation officer if you ever had one.
Correct.
Perfect. Now, on February 18th, do you know whether the order for supervised visitation with the caseworker downtown was still in existence?
I'm not aware of that.
Was it still in existence?
Yes.
So you were not supposed to be at your mother's house?
No, I was supposed to be at my mother's house, actually. They just got changed like last week, maybe.
Well, if it got changed last week, then you were allowed to have supervised visits.
I was.
Look at me. Supervised visits in your mother's house, supervised by your mother. That's what you told me?
Yeah.
According to what you wrote in your answer to his complaint, your son wanted to go with you.
Yes.
And your mother said you couldn't take him. That's what you wrote here.
I said
that's what you wrote. My son started to put on his shoes like he wanted to go with me. My brother would not allow my son to go with me. I said if my son wanted to go with me, he could. That's what you wrote.
Oh, yeah, but she let him go with me.
Just a second. But he couldn't go with you because there's a court order for supervised visitation, supervised at your mother's house. So you had no son, whether he wanted to go with you or not. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now tell me what happened, because after that, my brother then took my son's stuff from him so that he could not leave.
Yes.
That's what you said happened, which is absolutely the right thing to happen. You did absolutely perfect. so far because that's what the order is. Supervised visits at the house. Do you live with your mother?
No, I don't.
You were just visiting there.
Yes, I was.
He asked my mother if she wanted me gone. My mother said yes. Then you're going to tell me what happened. Your mother said yes, I want her gone.
Then my brother comes towards me. I said, don't put your hands on me. Let me grab my phone charger out the wall and I'll be on my way.
He comes towards you. He comes slowly because I'm old.
All right.
Go ahead.
After that, he called me a tramp AV. So I called him. So when we was arguing, actually, when I was going out of the house, he pushed me down the stairs and I grabbed the weapon and I defended myself.
He put you down the stairs?
Yes.
Okay. And you fell?
Yes.
You fell. How many stairs did you fall?
My mother has maybe 4 or 5 stairs.
And you actually fell? Did you fall on your knees? Did you fall on your face? Did you fall on your hands?
I fell on my right knee.
On your right knee. Was it bruised?
Just a little bit.
Did you show it to the police?
No.
Did the police respond?
No. After I left, I called the police. The police said there was a car coming to that address.
You called the police?
Yes, I did.
Why did you call the police?
Because my brother put his hands on me.
Do you have the police report?
No, I do not.
Well, why didn't you get it?
Because the place where I did the police report at, they said they didn't do relatives. So I went to the regular police station. They told me they didn't have it on record. So basically they threw it out, so I couldn't bring it.
Now, just let me follow this. So he threw you down the stairs this way, and now you're lying on one knee down the stairs, the bottom of the stairs. No, listen to me. You're lying on one knee. That's according to you at the bottom of the stairs.
I said I banged my knee. You asked me what happened.
No. I said, did you fall on your hands? Did you fall on your face? And you said on one knee. Have an intact mind.
Yeah, on my right knee. Yes, I did.
So you're lying at the bottom of the stairs on your right knee, right? Now you've done it. Where's the ashtray?
On the porch.
Sorry. Do you want to look like I need help from you?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
All right. So the ashtray is on the porch, and the porch is 4 steps up. Is that right?
Yes.
So you got up off your knee, and you went towards your attacker.
Yeah.
Because he's your attacker. He's now throwing you off the porch.
Yeah.
So you get up off your knee, you walk up the 4 steps, and you grab the ashtray, right?
Yeah.
And then you throw it at your attacker.
Yeah.
Who was standing at the top of the stairs.
It missed him and it went to the sky again.
Can I see the estimate on the car, please?
Yes.
Right.
Do you live together?
No, we do not.
Who do you live with?
I live with my sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
Yes, his wife.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you do?
I work at Taco Bell.
You work full-time?
Yes.
Do you send money to support your child?
No, it goes through child support. I pay child support.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
You pay child support. How much?
$25.
How often?
It's supposed to be every month.
$25,000 a month?
Yeah.
That picture of the car?
Yes.
Let's see, please. You don't want to say anything, do you?
Nah.
Smart. Oh, she hit the roof of the car.
She did.
Oh, so she's standing on top of the
porch.
And what did she say when she threw the ashtray?
Well, as she actually never fell down the stairs, Your Honor.
Just a second. I like the machinations of her story.
Sure.
It's not truthful.
I do too, actually.
It's not truthful, but I got it. Okay. And is that the ashtray that she threw on the top of the car? Perfect. Charging for the plaintiff in the amount of $326.25.
Thank you, Your
very
Honor.
much. That's all.
Scott Sanders says, ex-girlfriend Courtney brought you, owes for the return of an iPod and for an unpaid loan. Courtney admits that Scott gave her the money, but claims it was never a loan.
Mr. Sanders, who is this young lady?
This is my daughter, Caitlin.
Okay. This is your complaint. I assume it's really about a loan that you made to her.
It's about both, ma'am, the iPod and the money.
You were dating?
Not at the time, we were not dating.
But you were friends?
Yes.
Yeah, dating. Then you remained friends. So you claim a loan of an iPod and then a loan of some cash because she said that she was financially strapped.
Yes.
And she has 2 children. He felt sorry for her, so he loaned her some money. She has not paid you back that money, nor, according to you, returned the iPod. When did you have a relationship with her, and when was that over?
The relationship started online in a chat room back in January of 06. We actually started seeing each other approximately April of 06. And I was not comfortable with her constantly saying she was going to leave this guy. I said, I ain't doing this anymore. Then you got to get off the pot. She didn't, so I made a sense, we'll be friends. She talked about to myself and my daughter. She cared about me. She wanted us to be together. I said, well, when you decide to move on, let me know. And we continued to be friends, talked on the phone, online quite a bit. And that December, I come into some money, and I decided to buy